Hi, this is Brooke Blythe, and this is my relational advice log for communications 451. So, Ryan and Gladys are having a very hard time opening up to each other. They want to connect in a meaningful way, but every time they try and talk, they can never seem to have a meaningful conversation with one another. They are co-workers, and so it's hard to do so at work, and whenever they hang out outside of work with their friends, they can never seem to find time. In their most recent hangout, they started to open up and speak to one another, but got interrupted by one of their friends. And so they are looking for some advice on how to really connect with one another. And in interpersonal communication, that is the lifeblood of people's relationships. So not looking at how they communicate with one another and the dynamics means that nothing is going to change. And since all of the dynamics in interpersonal communication are always changing due to beliefs and people's cultures and the way they were raised, there will never be one set of specific rules for every person. When you bring all those things together, things can go really well or really poorly. And interpersonal communication works hard to promote ethical communication and good conversations between two people. There was one philosopher named Martin Buber that thought that we should be able to bridge that gap of interpersonal communication and the differences we have and make us feel closer with one another by taking a look at the other person's side. So, as most people say, putting yourself in someone else's shoes for a change. In this advice, I am going to aim to tell Ryan and Gladys how to listen with more than their ears and how to work past some differences that they may have. And to do so, they need to create an environment that promotes that sharing, and they need to ensure that their actions are matching their words and their body language is reflecting how they want to truly come off. So, listening with more than your ears is going to be ensuring that whatever is said in that conversation is taken a look at through their emotions. So, when Gladys is opening up about a sad situation about her home life, Ryan needs to be able to listen to more than Gladys speaking. He needs to understand that she is sad in those emotions, and he needs to work through how to empathize and understand if she either wants to have advice on how to deal with that or just to have someone there to understand how she is feeling. And the biggest key for these two is going to be creating an environment that promotes that sharing. They are going to have to be able to take a time together where they are not at work, since it is not good to be at work and having those personal conversations because you're supposed to be doing your job and people can be coming in and interrupting them. And it can become tense if you start to say something and then it gets interrupted and you don't have a chance to speak about it later that day. When hanging out with their friends, I think they should be able to communicate with those friends and tell them that they need some space in a moment, or if they can branch off from the group and come back, because with the constant interruptions, people aren't going to want to open up and share. So that creating that environment, they need to be able to have a time set aside for just themselves where they're able to talk through that conversation and what happened and why they want to share that with one another. Inside of that conversation, they also need to take a look at body language. One example of is when people cross their arms. That means that they exclude themselves from that conversation. They are backing away, they are really closed off. So having open body language where they are leaning in to listen, where they are mirroring someone's body language, that means that they are caring and taking a look and listening at that person, what they have to say, and as well as making direct eye contact with them to show that they are tracking and following is key. That does not mean that they have to be constantly touching or constantly staring into one another's eyes. They just need to mimic their body language to be open, make sure that they don't have a frown on their face when they're really just listening intently and that's the face they are making. They need to be aware of their body language towards one another, because as stated, interpersonal communication is a two-way street and you're not able to determine what someone else is feeling. So even if you say something with the best of intent, someone could take it wrong because of your body language or because of the tone in your voice, even if you didn't intend it that way. And you cannot speak on the emotions of that person. However, you can ensure that you yourself are doing the most to prevent those things from happening, and when they do happen, explain your side and how you didn't mean it that way and be able to work through that together. Therefore, for Ryan and Gladys, their best call to action is going to be ensuring they have time alone, an environment that promotes that sharing, and once they're in that environment, they need to be aware of how their body language might be affecting the other person, and they also need to make sure that they are listening more than just understanding the other person is talking. They need to be able to take certain elements from that conversation and respond to them directly to show the other person that they were listening to what they were saying and they have been thinking about it and have some advice or a comment to offer them. And so going forward, ensuring that all of those things are kept in the back of their minds, they will be able to promote that environment where they will share with one another and their conversations are going to be more meaningful. If they communicate those feelings of how they're both feeling a little tense, they can come together based off of that shared feeling and then work together on how to plan to ensure that they have that time to talk to one another and set aside specific dates to be able to talk through that situation for them. And taking all of those key steps of listening with more than their ears, creating that safe environment, understanding their differences, and wanting to work through them together is going to be the key to growing their relationship and understanding how their communication together works. Thank you.